Hello, my lovely rose garden. This is Avalon,
And Ray.
and we're back with Chapter 11 of Throne of Glass. And I'm going to be completely honest, I have entirely forgotten what the prince's motivation is for why he's doing any of this.
Because his dad and him don't get along. And I guess he wants to, I don't know, something about his dad.
I assume so. So was...
Daddy issues.
Because, I'm just sitting here and I'm like, okay, if Selena is as capable as she is supposedly stated to be, and because her skin in the game is that she wants her freedom, and if she becomes the champion and successfully no one finds out who she is, I guess, then she'll be free in a couple years. But it's like, okay, they're about to start this tournament. There's gonna be all these nobles, watching and shit. Wouldn't it be entirely possible for her to throw things so that she doesn't have to work for the king but can get hired on by one of these other nobles instead? Because what the fuck is the prince gonna do to stop her? Reveal that he went to Endovier and took this deadly assassin and just has been letting her walk around among the nobles?
I guess because, assumedly, if one of the nobles poached her for something or other, they would have to, learn about who she actually is in order to get her pardoned to work for them.
Not if she fucking lied. Because, no one would even believe it because no one knows.
Yeah, but I mean, they know that all of these people are,
Some of them are criminals.
Well, some of them are criminals, and her backstory is that she is a criminal and she's here under pardon. So, assumedly, they would have to get that pardon transferred or something.
I don't know. The more you think about it, the less well thought out it is.
I mean, yeah, but
I've probably put more thought into this than Mass did at this point.
Yeah, yes, most definitely.
Alright. Anyway, let's get started. Chapter 11. Selena felt as if she'd barely closed her eyes when a hand jabbed her side. She groaned, wincing as the drapes were thrown back to welcome the morning sun. Wake up. Not surprisingly, it was Kale.
Mm-hmm.
She's real got good reflexes and awareness and totally couldn't sneak up on her.
Okay.
This is what, this... Maybe I'm just remembering it from the last time I read this book, which was a long time ago, but... Is this, the second time that someone has snuck up on her in her sleep, or is this the first time and I'm just misremembering?
I really wish that this was a case of, unreliable narrator, and not we're actually supposed to believe that she's a badass assassin. It would be so much cooler if she wasn't actually that good, but she thought she was great.
The way she's written, she seems more like a prissy noble lady who's they're trying to pass off as an assassin.
Yeah. That would honestly be very interesting also as well.
At least it would make sense why she's so fucking incompetent.
Yeah.
She shimmied beneath the blankets, pulling them over her head, but he grabbed the covers and threw them to the floor. Her nightgown was wrapped around her thighs. Selena shivered. "It's cold," she moaned, holding her knees to her body.
Girl, you just got done, existing in a freaking salt mine. And now, oh, I don't have my blankie on me. It's cold. It's
maybe
girl,
it's just
what?
my current annoyance, but she sounds like one of my students.
Oh my god.
And it's more permissible when one of my students does something like this, because they are actual small children. Being cold is the most discomfort they've ever fucking dealt with. For those who don't know, I teach babies.
Well, not literal babies, but
they're pretty baby.
Yeah, but not literal babies, because that would be...
I know, I'm not in early childhood education, but a totally different degree to do that. And needed because, wow, the developmental milestones that are undergone during those ages are fascinating, all of which Selena apparently missed. Anyway. Cold. She didn't care that she had only a few months to beat the other champion. She needed sleep. It would have been nice if the Crown Prince had considered springing her from Endovia earlier so she could have some time to regain her strength. How long had he known about this competition anyway? Fair point. I will give you that one. I will. Yeah. Fair. Get up. Kale ripped the pillows from beneath her head. I'm just over here like,
girl, this ain't a vacation.
Now
you're here to fight for your freedom.
Yeah, like, I feel like you'd be more pumped about this. A little bit more willing to do shit.
A little bit more jazzed.
Again, you remind me of my students.
You're fighting for your freedom. No complaining. And summer school. You're here to fight for your freedom.
You're here to fight for my freedom. Now you're wasting my time. If he noticed how much skin she was showing, he didn't react. Based Kale. Kale's like, I don't care if I could see your pasty-ass white thighs, okay? Get the fuck up. It's breakfast.
Get up. Get up, loser.
Kale, not impressed with the thigh gap.
What a king.
Stan. Grumbling, Selena slithered to the edge of the bed, dangling a hand over the edge to touch the floor. Fetch my slip... Sorry. I keep wanting to give her, like, an even whinier voice. Fetch my slippers, she mumbled.
No, better yet. Fetch my slippers.
Yeah, fetch my slippers.
We're watching Oprah tonight.
The floor's like ice. Yeah, you know what? If I can maintain the harpy shrill, we might just be switching over to harpy shrills. Because I keep forgetting the frickin' Chelsea voice. It's not one that I'm as familiar with. It's hard. He growled, but Selena ignored him as she got to her feet. She staggered and slouched into the dining room where an enormous breakfast lay on the table. Kale jerked his chin toward the food. Eat up. The competition starts in an hour. Why are you only waking her up now? An hour? I wouldn't be ready to enter a competition in a fucking hour.
Because, I don't know... Rushing around.
Like, if I've got to eat, that's like 10 minutes right there. Gotta wake myself up, use the bathroom, fucking awaken my brain. You know, that takes time. That's a process.
Awaken that brain.
Like,
Ka-chow.
And this is the one time where I'm, like, kind of grateful that I have sort of a long commute to my job. Because it does give me time to just sort of collect my thoughts and just kind of be with myself for a little while, because I need that in the morning.
Uh-huh. My
commute is almost an hour. Like, I need... Okay, bitch. You're really not setting her up for success here, are you? Whatever nerve she felt, she kept them hidden from him as she gave an exaggerated sigh and collapsed into a chair with the grace of a large beast. Selena scanned the table. Yet again, there were no knives. She stabbed her fork into a piece of sausage. Now you're just being uncreative. You could do a lot with that fork.
You can do a lot with the fork.
From the doorway, Kale asked, "Why, might I ask, are you so tired?" She gulped down the rest of the pomegranate juice and wiped her mouth on a napkin. "I was up until 4 reading," she said. "I sent a letter to your princeling asking for permission to borrow books from the library." We're using the comic emphasis. He granted my wish and sent 7 books from his personal library that I'm commanded to read. Kale shook his head in disbelief. "It isn't your place to write to the Crown Prince." She gave him a simpering smile and took a bite of ham. "He could have ignored the letter, and besides, I'm his champion. Not everyone feels obligated to be as nasty to me as you do." "You're an assassin." I feel like we just need that, like, copy and pasted every single time anyone talks to her. You're an assassin. You're an assassin. You're an assassin. "If I say I'm a jewel thief, will you treat me with more courtesy?" She waved a hand. "Don't answer that." Are you enjoying the Charmed Comics emphasis? I'm back in my element. We're back, baby.
We're back, baby.
Chain wallets.
There's nothing I love more than a hot, crisp crust.
All the freaky little ghosts that smell like Fritos bags. No one understands what the fuck we're referencing right now.
I mean, maybe some do. Maybe some do. Keep on reading, book reader.
Sure thing, jackass. She spooned porridge into her mouth, found it to be bland, and scooped 4 heaping mounds of brown sugar into the gray mess. The gray stuff was not delicious. Sad. Would the competitors actually be worthy opponents? Before she could start worrying, she examined his black clothes. Don't you ever wear normal clothing?
She doesn't appreciate goths.
Not even the freaky little goths that smell like Fritos bags.
Shut the fuck up.
Are you ready for the surge in customers based solely on the success of Has-Been Hotel?
Keep reading the fucking book.
Hurry up, was all he said. Kale wants this to be over with, too. The competition awaited. Suddenly not hungry. Because you've been fucking eating, you dumb bitch. Yeah, I'm not hungry after I've eaten a whole meal, too. Funny how that works. I'm sorry. I can't get over it. Suddenly not hungry.
Eats a 3-course meal. Suddenly I'm not hungry.
I'm just gonna go with... She ate a sausage. She ate some porridge. She drank a whole cup of pomegranate juice, which is, you know, if you're me, pretty filling actually. There are some juices that kind of have a little bit of a heft to them.
Yeah, pomegranate.
Pomegranate's one of them.
It's richer fruit.
You just ate
some porridge. Like...
That's dinner for me. You had meat, you had fruit, you had a grain. That's a meal. Suddenly I'm not hungry anymore. I don't know what happened. Aren't you still adjusting from, like, starving to death in the mines?
Yeah, now she's, like, eating meat. And I'm just like, girl.
Girly pop. No.
You probably shouldn't be doing that for a while. Like, pomegranate is so rich. Like, the porridge I could understand would go down easy. But she just, like, dumped a shit ton of sugar in it. I'm all like, girly pop. You're gonna die.
Your stomach's just like, what the fuck?
What the hell is this shit?
The stomach constricts and she's like, suddenly I feel full.
Yeah, it's because you just ate meat and had pomegranate juice on a stomach that is used to, like, what? Dry bread and water?
Like moldy shit? Like, bitch, your stomach is leaving the building. Okay, I should get dressed then. I'm sorry.
Let's see, how many pages do we have left to go?
To the audience, I am sober. I'm just very tired. Everything's funny because I'm sleep deprived. Okay?
I don't get paid enough for this.
You don't get paid at all.
I don't get paid enough for this.
Oh wait, no, you get kissed. You get paid in kisses.
Still don't get paid enough for this.
I could fix that.
Oh. Anyway.
Anyway. She turned her head to call for Philippa, but paused. Just what sort of activities might I expect at the tournament today, so I can dress accordingly, of course? I don't know. They don't give us the details until you arrive. Kale's just having the worst fucking time.
Kale's just here like, listen, he also doesn't get paid enough for this.
The captain rose and drummed the pommel of his sword before calling to a servant as Selena walked into her bedroom. There were way too many actions in that sentence. The captain rose and drummed the pommel of his sword before calling to a servant as Selena walked into her bed. There's 4 fucking verbs here. Stop.
Verb.
Behind her, Kale spoke to the servant girl. Dress her in pants and a shirt, something loose, nothing frilly or revealing, and bring a cloak. The girl disappeared into the dressing room. Selena followed after her, unceremoniously stripping down to her underclothes and enjoying it far too much when Kale's cheeks reddened before he turned away. A few minutes later, Selena frowned at herself as she hurried after the captain into the foyer. I look ridiculous! These pants are absurd, and this shirt is awful! I'm kind of losing the charmed ones.
I'm just over here like, what, were you expecting to wear a ball gown to this fight to the death?
Damn. I'm just gonna let Kale speak for me.
Mm-hmm.
Stop whining. No one gives a damn about your clothes. My man. He flung open the door to the hall, the guards outside instantly at attention. Besides, you can take them off at the barracks. I'm sure everyone will be thrilled to see you in your undergarments. She swore violently under her breath, pulling her green velvet cloak tight around herself, and trailed after him. You were the one who fucking did it, bitch. I don't know what... Oh no, how dare he reference that thing that I did completely of my own volition. The captain of the guard rushed through the castle, still freezing with the early morning chill, and soon they entered the barracks. Guards in various states of armor saluted them. An open doorway revealed a large mess hall, where many of the guards were just sitting down to breakfast. Finally, Kale stopped somewhere on the ground floor. The giant rectangular room they entered was the size of the grand ballroom. Lined with pillars that supported a mezzanine, the floor was checkered black and white tile, and the floor-to-ceiling glass doors that made up one entire wall were open, the gossamer curtains blowing in the chilly breeze that drifted in from the garden. Again, calm the fuck down. This should have been 2 separate sentences. Most of the 23 other champions were already scattered throughout the room, sparring with what could only be their sponsors' trainers. Everyone was carefully monitored by guards. None bothered to look at her, save for that slightly handsome young man with the gray eyes, who gave her a half-smile before returning to firing arrows at a target across the room with unnerving accuracy. So here's an editing trick. When you are editing your work, you should read it out loud, or have someone read it out loud to you. And if you can't get through a sentence without starting to feel out of breath, the sentence is too long. You either need to cut out a few words, some description that maybe isn't necessary.
Or split it into 2.
Because for the past couple of sentences, I've barely been able to finish without getting out of breath. And I've been doing a lot of breath work. So, I mean, I'm not saying that I'm like in the top tier of breath havers in the world or anything.
Top percentile for breathing.
I'm not, my rat-a-tat is not in the 1% of this game. But I can go for a while without needing to inhale during speaking, again, because of my job. So yeah, these are way too long. She lifted her chin and surveyed a rack of weapons. You expect me to use a mace an hour after sunrise? There we go, it's back. I lost it before, it's back now.
Just like, as opposed to an hour or 2 hours after sunrise, or...
When is the appropriate time to use a mace? When the morning star is out.
Ah!
I know my medieval weapons. 6 guards appeared in the doorway behind them, joining the dozens already in the chamber, swords at the ready. If you attempt anything foolish, Kale said quietly, they'll be here. I'm just a jewel thief, remember? She approached the rack. Foolish, foolish decision to leave all those weapons out. Swords, sword breakers, axes, bows, pikes, hunting daggers, maces, spears, throwing knives, wooden staves, while she generally preferred the stealth of a dagger. Oh, so you do stealth? Shocker. Surprise to me. She was familiar with every weapon here. She glanced around the sparring room and... Oh, she's good at everything. Never mind.
Oh, it's like when I read that Christian Grey has like 1 billion trillion different sex toys that he's all good with. I'm all like, yeah, sure you are, buddy. Okay.
She glanced around the sparring room and
you
hid
know what
her
they
grimace.
say about a jack of all trades is a master of none. Which means that she's gonna get bodied by someone who's been using a sword all his life.
Yeah, like, and I've been playing a lot of Fire Emblem recently, so I'm already like, what class would she be? And how quickly would I replace her?
I mean,
and
I guess she would be an assassin. That is literally what she is.
Yeah, but like, there's no way that she's at an advanced tier.
Yeah.
She'd be a fucking thief.
Yeah.
And thieves are so squishy.
Yeah.
And really not...
Like, their only real good trait is, like, evasion.
Yeah. And, see, this is why I like the Blue Lions, because Ash has all the good qualities of thieves, being that he can open chests without a key, and he's got the speed and the mobility, but he's not fucking useless. Like, anytime I get a thief, they are in the back and they're there to pick up chests, or I reclass them ASAP. And I'm sure there's a bunch of people who are going to come in the comment, like, what am I talking about? No, there aren't. But I'm sure that if I was, like, in Fire Emblem YouTube land, people would be talking to me about the metagame with thieves and how useful they are because they're a special class or whatever, and I'd just be like, shut the fuck up. Don't give a shit. Thieves are squishy. They don't do a lot of damage. What are they there to do except pick up chests? And that's what she is. And I would reclass her immediately if I was even going to use her, which I fucking wouldn't. She sucks. Like, she better have an insane growth rate on her stats. But I don't think she's surviving the early game. TBH. She glanced around the sparring room and hid her grimace. So were most of the competitors, it seemed. As she inspected them, she caught a movement in the corner of her vision. Kane entered the hall, flanked by 2 guards and a scarred, burly man who might have been his trainer. She squared her shoulders as Kane strode straight toward her, his thick lips parting in a grin. "Good morning," he said, his voice raspy and deep. His dark eyes snaked along her body, then found her face again. "I'd have thought you'd be running home by now." She gave him a close-lipped smile. "The fun's just starting, isn't it?" Kane returned her smile and stalked off. It would have been so easy to whirl and grab him by the neck and slam his face into the ground.
Girlie.
How? Explain to me. Explain the physics to me of how you would accomplish that.
No, it would just be so easy, don't you know? Just take her word for it that it would be so easy.
Like, she's constantly like, oh, they better not underestimate me. She is underestimating every single other person constantly.
Yeah.
You don't know these people. You do not know what they can do.
Like, the worst thing you can do as an assassin is underestimate your target. Because it's like, no. You're not the most badass motherfucker in the room. That's not how it is.
I really wish that this book was just about her, like, getting super humbled in this competition and then actually having to, like, accept that she is not the perfect killing machine and she needs to level her ass up.
Yeah.
I could make another video game analogy, but it's too many for one video. She didn't even realize she was trembling with rage until Chaol stepped into her line of vision. "Save it for the competition," he said softly, but not weakly. "I'm going to kill him," she breathed. "No, you're not. If you want to shut him up, then beat him. He's just a brute from the king's army. Don't waste your strength on hating him." She rolled her eyes. "Thank you so much for interfering on my behalf. You don't need me to rescue you. It still would have been nice. You can fight You can fight your own battles." Once again, Chaol. Based. Best character. He pointed with his sword to the weapons rack. "Pick one." His eyes shone with a challenge as she untied her cloak and tossed it behind her. "Let's see if you can actually back up your swaggering." She'd shut Kane up in an unmarked grave for all eternity, but for now, she'd make Chaol eat his words. All the weapons were finally made and glistened in the sunlight. Selena eliminated her options one by one, seeing each weapon for what sort of damage she might do to the captain's face.
Girl, clearly you are not the best assassin because you got caught. You were in prison.
God damn. Her heart beat rapidly as she ran a finger across the blades and handles of each. She found herself torn between the hunting daggers and a lovely rapier with an ornate bell guard. She could cut his heart out from a safe distance with that. You have to be a lord to use the rapier, Selena. God. You are not him, okay? None of us can ever be him. By him, I mean Marth.
Get back to reading the book.
I just want to think about Marth.
Simp ass.
The sword whined. As she drew it from the stand and held it in her hands. You don't have to weapon classification for this. It was a good blade, strong, smooth, light. They wouldn't let her have a butter knife on her table, but they gave her access to this? Yeah, it does sound stupid, doesn't it?
Anyway.
Why not wear him down a bit? Kale tossed his cape on top of hers, his toned body flexing through the dark threads of his shirt. He drew his sword. On your guard.
Yeah, right now, like, ideally, she will get bodied by this man who is trained with a sword.
Please.
Forever.
Please, I want Kale to kick her ass so bad. He moved into defensive position, and Selena looked at him dully. Who do you think you are? What sort of person says on your guard? The fucking captain of the Royal Guard who is trained in the technical aspects of sword fighting, you dumb bitch.
Just because you grew up in a sewer, Selena, doesn't mean that he has to drop his manners for you.
There are forms. There are customs. On your guard sounds like a pretty normal fucking thing to say in this situation.
Yeah, it just means, hey, let's start the sparring match.
Yeah, it's...
You dumb motherfucker.
On your guard means starting position.
Yep.
You get into your defensive start position. That's... It's like when, when we took karate.
Yeah.
And the sensei has you go to your corner of the ring and you bow to your opponent and then you get into your stance.
Yeah.
That's just how this works. Aren't you first going to show me the basics? She said quietly enough for only him to hear, her sword dangling from one hand. She rubbed the hilt, her fingers contracting on the cool surface. I was in Enjovier for a year, you realize. I could have easily forgotten. Way to blow your cover. Don't assume that he's the only one who can hear you. You're in a room full of people. From the amount of killing that went on in your section of the mines, I highly doubt you've forgotten a thing. Don't encourage her. That was with a pickaxe, she said, her smile growing feral. All I had to do was crack a man's head open or hurl the axe into his stomach. Thankfully, none of the other champions paid them any heed. Are you sure?
Why?
Do you know?
They?
If you consider that sort of gracelessness equal to swordmanship, what sort of fighting do you do, Captain Westfall? She put a spare hand over her heart and closed her eyes for emphasis. With a growl, the captain of the guard lunged. But she had been waiting for some time now, and her eyes flew open as soon as his boots scraped against the ground. With a turn of her arm, she brought the sword into blocking position, her legs bracing for the impact as steel struck steel. The noise was strange, somehow more painful than receiving the blow, but Selena thought little of it when he charged again, and she met his weapon, parrying with ease. Her arms ached as they were shaken from their slumber, but she continued to deflect and parry. Swordplay was like dancing. Certain steps must be followed, or else it would fall apart. Once she heard the beat, it all came rushing back. The other competitors faded away into shadows and sunlight.
Doing that prayer Timmy Turner meme, like, please, can Kale just, slice her leg off? It would be so funny.
Okay, but again, this would imply that she is trained in technical sword fighting.
And she doesn't know what on guard is. Or it's like, who says that? It's like, people who are trained in technical sword fighting.
There's a difference between being trained in certain forms of combat. What they're describing is a very... I don't even know how to put it into words, because my mind just goes back to karate, because that's what I was trained in. And you have your ceremonial forms, right? The
Yeah.
forms that you do when you're ranking up for your belt
Yeah.
that are very technical, very
Like
stylized almost.
Katas.
Your katas. And then you have when you're actually fucking fighting someone.
Yeah.
And it looks very different
Yeah.
because you're not emphasizing your movements nearly as much.
Yeah.
If they're doing like a block parry like thing here, that would lead me to think that it's one of those more stylized forms of, okay, we're going through the motions, we're warming up, we're doing the basic routine, except apparently he's like rushing at her and she's like, oh, just blah, blah, blah. Also, yeah, you can block with a sword, but it's not easy, it's not pleasant.
Yeah, this isn't fencing. Like, he's assumedly coming at her with, like, a weapon.
Yeah, and she's got a rapier. A rapier is not the best sword for deflecting and parrying with.
Yeah, it's like, assumedly, he has something like a broadsword or, you know, a two-handed sword.
Yeah, like, probably nothing as big as a claymore, but still.
No. But, so, like, assuming that he has, you know, standard, you know, medieval knight broadsword, what you think of when you think of the word sword. Sword. And she has a rapier, which is, like, half the width of that.
It's light. It's meant for quick strikes. It's a
one-handed sword. That broadsword would break the shit out of that rapier in an instant.
Yeah, like, you might get one parry.
Yeah.
Maybe two if you hit it at the right angle.
But honestly,
you don't want to be parrying this with a rapier.
If it doesn't break it, it'll at least go flying, because she's only a rapier's a one-handed sword.
Yeah.
And that's not enough of, like, a thing to withstand the weight of a giant slab of metal hacking at the blade. Yeah. It's like, no, that thing's gonna go flying and you're gonna lose. You're going up against a broadsword with a rapier.
Physics applies.
Yeah. But then again, once again, this is us putting in more thought than Sarah J. Maas certainly ever considered doing.
Yeah. Like, realistically, the way you would want to write this fight scene is that if Selena is an assassin, one would assume that she is agile, dexterous, and speedy.
Yeah.
She should be dodging him.
Yeah.
With her whole body.
Yeah.
And then finding the opening point with which to strike at, like, usually near the armpit area.
Yeah.
For mobility purposes. That's where there's, like, a break in the armor. So you'd be aiming for that. I mean, he's not wearing armor currently,
I mean, you'd fucking think, but, you know. Anyway, continue.
Good, he said through his teeth, blocking her thrust as she forced him to take a defensive stance. Her thighs burned. Very good, he breathed. He was pretty good himself. Better than good, actually. Not that she'd tell him that. With a clang, the two swords met, and they pressed each other's blades. He was stronger, and she grunted at the force required to hold her sword against his. But strong as he might be, he was not as quick. She withdrew and fainted, her feet jabbing and flexing on the floor with bird-like grace. Caught off guard, he only had time to deflect, his parry lost in his size. So again, you could have just jumped right to that, and I wouldn't have not had any problem with that fight scene.
Yeah.
She surged forward, her arm coming down again and again, twisting and turning, loving the smooth ache within her shoulder as the blade slammed against his. No! Don't do that! You're not aiming at their sword, You don't aim at the other person's sword! She was moving fast, fast like a dancer in a temple ritual, fast like a snake in the red desert, fast like water down the side of a mountain. How many times have they mentioned dancing at this point?
It's a dance. It's a dancer. You're dancing. Dance, 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 dance.
He kept up, and she allowed him to advance before reclaiming the position. He tried to catch her unawares with a blow to the face, but her anger awoke as her elbow snapped up and deflected, slamming into his fist and forcing it down. Ow! That would hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You know how much it hurts to hit things with your elbow?
Yes.
I think we all do, right? We've all done that at some point. Yeah, it fucking hurts.
Yeah.
Something to didn't know who was talking here. Something to remember when fighting me, Sardothian, he panted, the sun caught in his golden brown eyes. She grunted, lunging to deflect his newest attack. I don't lose. He grinned at her, and before she could comprehend the words, something cut into her feet, and she had the sickening feeling of falling. She gasped as her spine collided with marble, the rapier flying from her hand. Cale pointed his blade at her heart. I win, he breathed. Well, at least he got to win. Not as handily as I would have liked, but...
Yeah.
She pushed herself onto her elbows. You had to resort to tripping me. That's hardly winning at all.
You're an assassin!
You're an assassin. You're an assassin. You're an assassin.
You're an assassin!
I'm not the one with the sword at my heart. The sound of clashing weapons and labored breathing filled the air. She flicked her eyes to the other champions, who were all in the middle of sparring. All, of course, except Cain. He grinned broadly at her, and Celaena bared her teeth. Oh, so someone was paying attention to you this whole time. Gosh, I sure hope he didn't pick up any intel on you, like the fact that you were in Endovier for a year.
Yeah.
You have the skills, Cale said, but some of your moves are still undisciplined. She broke her stare with Cain and glared up into Cale's face. That's never stopped me from killing before, she spat. You're supposed to be a jewel thief.
I'm just over here like, you know why you were good at killing before? Because your targets didn't know that they were about to be killed. You're not in that position anymore.
You're an assassin! Also, yeah, why didn't she be like, hey, aren't you going to show me the basics since I'm supposed to be posing as a jewel thief who's assumedly has not had a lot of experience with weapons of this caliber? And instead they're like, yeah, I'm worn out from your mind and I kill people. I kill so many people. And I'm like, yeah, that's great to just announce to this whole room. I know that they're probably talking quietly, but you've just confirmed that Cain is paying attention to you. Maybe don't bring it up right now.
Maybe don't assume that no one is paying attention.
You idiot. Cale chuckled at her agitation and pointed his sword at the rack, allowing her to get to her feet. Pick another, something different. Make it interesting, too. Something that will make me sweat, please. You'll be sweating when I skin you alive and squish your eyeballs beneath my feet, she muttered, picking up the rapier.
That's the most muttering voice you can manage.
And once again, Cale, that's the spirit. She practically threw the rapier into place and drew the hunting knives without hesitation. My dear old friends. A wicked smile spread across her face.
Why didn't you choose those before? A weapon that you are assumedly most proficient in. You stupid bitch.
Again, I feel like they're just trying to do that Hunger Games thing where Katniss doesn't go for the bow immediately because she's trying to get the other tributes to discount her as someone who's not skilled. And then when it's just her and like the professional, people who are ranking for the match, that's when she pulls out the bow and shows off her actual skills so that, the people she's actually going to be fighting don't see her using her best shit. Only the people who are in charge of the sponsorships do.
Yeah.
So that she can get a high rank and get sponsors without showing her hand.
Yeah.
Such thought and care was not put into this book or this protagonist, who is way less interesting than Katniss. And, I still hold that I have not read the other books in the series beyond the first one, The Hunger Games, and I most likely never will, because I just enjoyed The Hunger Games as a standalone novel too much.
Mm-hmm.
But from my understanding, the rest of the books are solid.
Mm-hmm.
Suzanne Collins has the chops to pull off something like this.
Well, we got into Suzanne Collins all last episode, so let's just continue.
But that's it. That's the end of the chapter.
Oh.
So, yeah, I still am struggling to remember what anyone's motivations with putting up with this farce is. I know that Celaena, I don't know, she's pretty heavily guarded, so maybe she can't escape, but I feel like there are better strategies that she could be employing to secure her freedom without having to be the champion. And I still don't even remember why Dorian wants her to be the champion, aside from make the plot happen.
Make the plot happen is the reason.
Yeah. Listeners, if you remember, please put it in the comments so I can refresh myself. And while you're there, don't forget to check out the links in the description, including to the Patreon, where you can get early access to our readings of Throne of Glass and other videos. This is like several weeks in advance. Chapter 9 just came out, and we are recording Chapter 11 now, so it's a few weeks ahead of time that you'll have access to it on Patreon. Specifically, and I'm probably going to make a separate video about this, but now is a really good time to sign up for Patreon, specifically the $10 tier, because I have a new book coming out sometime this summer. I'm not exactly sure when, due to, just some last minute things and touch-ups that need to happen, orders need to be placed and all that. But sometime this summer, the Alliance Saga #1, Shifting Roots, will be published. And if you are in a certain tier level, not only can you get early access to the ebook version of both that and all of my other books, you could also get your name in the book, in the acknowledgements. And if you go for the highest Rosebush tier of $25 a month, you get a signed copy that will be mailed out to you before the official publication date. So there's a chance that you will receive that before it goes live to other people. And of course, if you sign up for the ebook version, then you get those ebook files as soon as they are ready for publication. So that would be even sooner. So do please check out that Patreon link. It really helps me out to cover the costs of publishing, stocking the books, sending them out. I really need the Patreon support to do all those things. And you get all of those awesome rewards, plus others that I have not even brought up here. So please, please, please check that out. If you can't give, at least follow me on there. I like to see more people hopping in to check out what we're doing. We got a freebies for followers collection on there, so you can see a couple things for free, plus access to the Discord server. Lots of good stuff, lots of good content. Not like this content, which we'll be back with again next week. Hopefully we make it until then. I get the feeling we're going to have a harder time surviving this than Miss Plot Armor. Have a good evening, Rose Garden.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for watching, and a special thank you to my patrons. If you'd like to see your name here or in the description below, please consider joining my Patreon. Your support means so much to me and allows me to continue making content. If you want to support my content in different ways, consider buying my books, donating on Ko-fi, subscribing to the channel, or even just giving this video a like and comment. Any and everything is appreciated so much. Keep growing till next time, Rose Garden!